Wait. Before you scroll past this video, let me tell you something that will shock you. My name is Choma, and the day I found that black pot under my bed, chai, that day, everything I thought I knew about my husband just scattered. And I'm not talking about an ordinary pot. This one, it was different. If you think you know who you married, please sit down and let me tell you what happened to me. And please, before we start, hit that subscribe button because this story, it's not what you think. By the time I reach the middle, you understand that some secrets, they are too heavy to carry. You see, my husband David and I had been together for 5 years. Fine boy, successful, working with one of the big oil companies in Victoria Island. The kind of man every girl in Lagos is looking for. Me? I'm not going to lie. I thought I'd won the jackpot. Our wedding? Oh my God, that thing trended on Instagram. Hashtag David 2023 was even trending that weekend. My friends were a little jealous, but that's normal. I remember the night of our traditional wedding. David looked at me with so much love in his eyes and said, "Shoma, you are the only woman I've ever truly loved. I promise you, no secrets between us. Ever." I believed him. God, I believed every word. Everything was smooth. Every month, money was coming in. We had our 2-bedroom apartment in Lekki Phase 1. Man was working. Woman was working too. Because independent woman things, you know how we do it. I worked as a marketing executive for one tech company in Yaba. Good salary, good benefits. We were that couple everyone wanted to be. Sunday brunch at Cafe Neo. Friday nights at the cinema. Saturday, gym sessions together. We even started a joint savings account for our future children. My girlfriends would always ask me, "Choma, what's your secret? How did you find a man like David in this Lagos?" And I would smile and say, "Prayer and patience, my dear. Prayer and patience." But you know what they say? The higher you climb in Lagos, the harder you fall. And my own fall, it started with one small thing I should have paid attention to. It started small, little changes that I kept brushing off. David started coming home late, like 11 p.m., midnight type of late. And anytime I asked him, same story. "Babe, it's work, oh. You know this new project we are handling." At first, I believed him. I mean, oil and gas industry, the work can be demanding. But then it became every night, every single night. Then the phone calls. This man would receive a call, then quietly walk to the balcony. One day, I heard him whispering, "I said I'll do it. Just give me some time." When he came back, I asked him, "David, who was that?" The man looked me straight in the eye and said it was his colleague from work. Lie. But I let it slide. Then came the money issues. Small things started not adding up. We had always been transparent about our finances, but suddenly, David was saying things like, "Babe, I need to borrow from our joint account. I'll replace it next week." Next week would come. No replacement. One time, I saw a debit alert on his phone before he quickly swiped it away. 500,000 naira. When I asked him about it, he said it was for office expenses, but something in his eyes, something wasn't right. My best friend Amaka noticed too. She came to visit one Saturday, and after David left to run an errand, she pulled me aside. "Chi, is everything okay? David looks stressed, like really stressed." I defended him, of course. "He's just working hard, that's all." But that night, I couldn't sleep. I lay there watching David, and I noticed something strange. Every night, around 1 or 2 a.m., he would get up. I thought maybe he was going to the bathroom, but sometimes he would be gone for 15, 20 minutes. Where was he going? The thing that really shocked me was when his mother came to visit us from Enugu. Mama looked at me with this pity in her eyes. Then she said something in Igbo that I didn't fully understand, but I caught Ogu and Nwanyozo, which is something about juju and another woman. I wanted to ask Mama what she meant, but before I could open my mouth, David appeared in the living room, and that conversation just ended like that. But that night, as Mama was packing to leave the next morning, she held my hand and said in broken English, "My daughter, pray well. Some things, them no be ordinary." I felt a chill run down my spine. What did Mama know that I didn't? That night, something woke me up from sleep. something that would change my life forever. That night, around 2 a.m., I woke up needing to use the bathroom. As I was coming back, I noticed David wasn't in bed. I checked the living room. No David. I checked the kitchen. Nothing. Then I heard it. A faint noise coming from under the bed, like something scraping against metal. My heart started beating fast. What could be making that noise? We didn't have rats, and even if we did, that sound was too deliberate, too human. I stood there for what felt like forever, just listening. Then I heard David's voice. He was whispering something. I couldn't make out the words, but it sounded like he was praying. No, not praying. It was different, more like chanting. I bent down slowly, my hands shaking, and used my phone's flashlight to look under the bed. And what I saw, guys, I saw my husband, a full-grown man, lying flat on his belly under our bed, holding a black pot I had never seen before in my life. The thing had a red cloth tied around it and some kind of liquid inside, dark liquid, and there were other things, cowrie shells, some powder, what looked like, I don't even want to say. When the light hit him, David froze. His eyes went wide. We just stared at each other like that. Me from the top of the bed, him from underneath, for what felt like an eternity. David, my voice came out as a whisper. What? What is that? The way this man scrambled from under that bed, like a snake had bitten him. He was just stammering. Babe, I can explain. It's not what you think. It's not what I think. I had already lost it. My voice was so loud. I was sure the neighbors could hear, but I didn't care. David, why are you hiding under our bed at 2 a.m. with a black pot? Talk now. He just stood there, looking at me, looking at the pot, looking back at me. His mouth was opening and closing like a fish out of water, but no words were coming out. David, I said, talk. Choma, please, let's go to the living room. Let me explain everything. Explain what? Explain why you've been lying under our matrimonial bed with Juju? The same bed where we sleep? The same bed where we... David, what is that thing? I was crying now, full tears streaming down my face. This man I had trusted with my whole life, had been hiding something like this from me? How long? I asked him. How long has this thing been under our bed? He looked down. 3 months. 3 months. I had been sleeping on top of a juju pot for 3 months and didn't know. I felt sick, like physically sick. I ran to the bathroom and threw up. Everything was spinning. What else had he been hiding? What else didn't I know? When I came out of the bathroom, David was sitting on the bedroom floor, his head in his hands. The pot was now on the floor beside him, just sitting there, looking so innocent, but feeling so evil. Choma, he said, his voice breaking. I never wanted you to find out like this. Find out? I laughed, but it wasn't a happy laugh. It was the kind of laugh that comes from pain. You never wanted me to find out at all. You were going to keep this thing under our bed forever, Abi? No, I was going to tell you. I swear. I didn't know how. David, we promised each other no secrets. That's what you said on our wedding day. No secrets. That night, what my husband told me, if I tell you, I believed him at first, I would be lying. He said the pot was for protection. Protection from what? Well, the story is as long as it is shocking. David sat me down in the living room that night, and this man just started crying, like real tears, not Nollywood acting. His whole body was shaking. Chioma, he started, before we got married, before I even met you properly, there was someone else. My heart sank. Of course there was someone else. There's always someone else. He told me that before we got married, he had a girlfriend he was seriously involved with. Her name was Ngozi. They had been together for 4 years. 4 years. They were even planning to get married. She was everything to me, he said. And I'm not going to lie. Hearing him say that hurts. We were supposed to do our introduction in December 2019. Everything was planned. I had bought the ring. I had started looking at plots of land to build our house. So what happened? I asked, even though part of me didn't want to know. My mother happened. He explained that his mother had done a background check on Ngozi's family, which apparently is normal in his family, and found out that Ngozi's grandmother had been accused of witchcraft in their village years ago. Not proven, just accused, but that was enough for his mother. My mother said if I married Ngozi, I would be bringing a curse into our family. She said Ngozi's family had a history of bad things. She gave me an ultimatum. It's either Ngozi or the family. And David chose family. He broke up with Ngozi. No explanation, no proper closure. He just called her one day and said it was over. She was devastated. She begged him, cried, asked what she did wrong. But David was firm. It was over. 2 weeks later, David continued. My family introduced me to you at that wedding. You remember my cousin's wedding? I remembered. I thought it was fate. It wasn't fate. It was arrangement. My mother had already picked you. Your family was suitable. Same tribe, good background, respectable. She told me to get to know you, and if things worked out, we should move forward. So our whole relationship, I couldn't even finish the sentence. No, Chioma, listen. Yes, it started as an arrangement, but I fell in love with you. I really did. What I feel for you is real. But was it? Was any of it real? After we got engaged, David went on. Things started happening to me. Bad things. The promotion I was supposed to get at work, they gave it to someone else. The contract I was supposed to win fell through at the last minute. I started having nightmares. Every night, I would dream of Ngozi standing at the foot of our bed, just staring at me. I felt cold all over. Then came the accident. Remember when I told you I had a minor accident on 3rd Mainland Bridge? It wasn't minor, Chioma. I nearly died. My car somersaulted 3 times. The doctor said it was a miracle I survived. I remember that day. David had called me from the hospital, said it was just a scratch, not to worry. But when I got there, his car was completely destroyed. After the accident, I knew something was wrong. This wasn't normal bad luck. Someone had tied my destiny. He said his mother took him to see different pastors, different prophets, but nothing worked. The dreams continued. The bad luck continued. He was drowning and nobody could save him. Then my mother heard about this alfa in Badagry, a powerful man who specialized in spiritual protection. We went to see him, and the moment he saw me, he said, "Your ex-girlfriend has tied you. She went to a powerful place to make sure you never prosper." The alfa told David that the only way to break free was to get a specific black pot, perform certain rituals, and keep it under his bed where he sleeps every night. The pot would act as a shield, protecting him from the spiritual attacks. The alfa said I should never tell anyone about it, not even my wife, because if anyone knew, the protection would break. That's why I couldn't tell you, Chioma. I wasn't hiding it to hurt you. I was trying to protect us both. I sat there, trying to process everything. Part of me wanted to believe him. Part of me wanted to stand up and leave and never look back. David, I finally said, so you brought a juju pot into this house without telling me. What if it turns against us? What if instead of protecting us, it's cursing us? What if we can't have children because of this thing? What if... No, Chioma. The alfa said it's only for protection. It can't harm us. And you believe him? David, you believe a man who told you to hide things from your wife? That doesn't sound like protection to me. That sounds like manipulation. And you know the most annoying part? This man had the nerve to tell me, "Babe, I did it because I love you. If I don't protect myself, how can I take care of you?" Love? Love is not a juju pot under the matrimonial bed. David, love is trust. Love is honesty. Love is telling your wife when something is wrong instead of hiding under the bed with a black pot at 2 a.m. like a thief. He tried to touch my hand, but I pulled away. Chioma, please, don't touch me. Just don't. I looked at the pot sitting on the coffee table. It just looked so ordinary now in the light. Just a black clay pot with a red cloth. But I could feel it. Some kind of energy coming from it. Or maybe I was just imagining things. I can't sleep in that room tonight, I said. I can't sleep in this house tonight. That night, I packed a small bag and told him I was going to my sister's house to think. The way David was begging, even our neighbors in the next flat could hear him. Chioma, please don't go. We can figure this out. I'll throw away the pot right now if that's what you want. It's not about the pot anymore, David. It's about the lies. It's about you making decisions that affect both of us without even consulting me. It's about you putting us in spiritual danger without giving me a choice. I left that night, and as I drove to my sister's place in Ikeja, I cried. I cried for the marriage I thought I had. I cried for the trust that was broken. I cried for the future I wasn't sure existed anymore. I spent 3 days at my sister's house in Ikeja. 3 days of thinking, crying, praying, and trying to make sense of everything. My sister, Adeze, she was furious when I told her everything. Chioma, that man is mad. He brought juju into your house and he didn't tell you. What if it had backfired? What if something had happened to you? But my sister Nkechi, the oldest one, she was more measured. Chi, I'm not saying what David did was right. It was very wrong. But I've lived long enough to know that spiritual things are real in this country. Maybe he was really trying to protect himself. But at what cost? I asked them. At the cost of our marriage? At the cost of my trust? We sat in Adeze's living room, drinking wine, talking till 3 a.m. And Adeze looked at me and said, Chioma, you have to decide what you want to do. But let me tell you one thing. A man who can hide a juju pot from you can hide anything. Today it's a pot. Tomorrow, what? Another wife? Children outside? Where does it end? She had a point. But as I sat there thinking, something else crossed my mind. What if? What if David was telling the truth? What if someone really had tied him spiritually and the pot was his only protection? I'm not going to lie. Lagos has shown me things that made me realize spiritual matters are very real. My own colleague at work, Fumi, she had been struggling for 7 years to get promoted. 7 years. Then she went to this powerful MFM branch, did serious prayers and fasting, and within 2 months, she got promoted twice. Twice. Another friend of mine couldn't get pregnant for 8 years. 8 years of trying. 8 years of different hospitals, different treatments. Then her mother took her to their village. They did some cleansing rituals. And guess what? She got pregnant 3 months later. She now has twins. So I knew these things were real. The question was, did that excuse David's lies? On the 3rd day, something happened that made my decision for me. I was sleeping in Adeze's guest room when I had a dream. In the dream, I saw myself in a white dress, standing in front of 2 roads. One road was bright and smooth, but it led to a cliff. The other road was dark and rough, but in the distance, I could see light. Then I heard a voice. I don't know whose voice it was, but it was clear. The smooth road leads to destruction. The rough road leads to restoration. I woke up sweating. It was 4 a.m. and I knew what I had to do. I called David. Hello? His voice was hoarse, like he hadn't been sleeping. David, we need to go see a pastor. A real pastor. Not that alpha, not any juju man. A proper man of God. If truly someone has tied you, let a pastor undo it properly. And we are going to throw away that pot together. There was silence on the other end. Then I heard him crying. Thank you, Chioma. Thank you. I've been praying for you to say that. I've been so scared, so lost. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. This doesn't mean everything is okay. We still have a lot to talk about. But first, we deal with this spiritual issue. The next day, we went to see Pastor Chris at Mountain of Fire. Not the regular Sunday service pastor, but the deliverance pastor who handles serious spiritual cases. When we got there, the church was already filled with people waiting for deliverance. Some were shaking, some were crying, some were just sitting there, looking empty. Pastor Chris called us into his office. David explained everything: the ex-girlfriend, the accident, the dreams, the alpha, the pot, everything. Pastor Chris listened without interrupting. When David finished, the pastor leaned back in his chair and sighed. My son, he said, do you know what you've done? You went to seek help from darkness, to fight darkness. That's like using poison to cure poison. It might work temporarily, but eventually the poison will kill you. David looked down, ashamed. But, Pastor Chris continued, God's mercy is greater than our mistakes. If you are ready to renounce all these things and commit fully to spiritual authority through Christ, we can help you. We spent 4 hours in that church, 4 hours of prayers, fasting, confession, and deliverance. Pastor Chris prayed. Other pastors joined. They laid hands on David, commanded and decreed, did spiritual warfare. At some point, David started shaking violently. I was scared, but Pastor Chris told me to keep praying. Then David screamed, not his normal voice, but something else, and he collapsed. When he woke up, he was different. His eyes were clearer. The tension in his face was gone. It was like watching someone wake up from a long, terrible nightmare. It's gone, he kept saying. I can feel it. It's gone. Pastor Chris looked at us both and said, my son, you are free, but that pot must leave your house today. Not tomorrow, not next week, today. We will go with you to dispose of it properly. We took Pastor Chris and 2 other church workers to our house. We brought out the pot. I refused to touch it, so David carried it, and they prayed over it, broke its power, and we took it to a specific location the pastor knew, where these things are properly destroyed. As we watched the pot being broken into pieces and burned, I felt something lift off my shoulders, a weight I didn't even know I was carrying. That night, I slept in my matrimonial bed with both eyes closed. First time in 3 days, and for the first time in months, I didn't have any bad dreams. Neither did David. Now, let me tell you what I learned from this whole experience. Number 1, before you marry someone, ask questions, serious questions. Ask about their past, their exes, their family history, their spiritual life, because some secrets can break your home. Number 2, if your partner is hiding anything from you, whether it's a small lie or a big juju pot, that foundation already has cracks. Marriage is built on trust, and without trust, you are just 2 people living in the same house. Number 3, some of you will hear this story and think it's just a movie. But my brother, my sister, spiritual things are very real in this Lagos, in this Nigeria. It doesn't mean you should be doing juju up and down, but you should be spiritually alert. Cover yourself with prayer. Know who you are getting involved with. Number 4, never let anyone, not even someone you love, make decisions that affect your spiritual life without your consent. The moment David brought that pot into our house, it put both of us at risk. That wasn't love. That was selfishness disguised as protection. As for me and David, we are still together. It hasn't been easy, but we are rebuilding that trust little by little. We started going for marriage counseling at the church. We have honest conversations now about everything: money, fears, dreams, everything. No more secrets, no more pots under beds, no more midnight rituals. Just 2 people who want to make their marriage work in this Lagos that doesn't smile for anybody. David apologized to me properly, not just I'm sorry, but a real deep apology, where he acknowledged how his actions hurt me, put me in danger, and violated our trust. He wrote me a letter, a 7-page letter, explaining everything he should have told me from the beginning. And you know what? I forgave him. Not because what he did was okay. It wasn't. But because I realized that we all make mistakes when we are desperate and afraid. And sometimes love means giving someone a second chance to do better. But I also set boundaries, clear, firm boundaries. Any future decisions that affect us both must be discussed. No more secrets, no matter how small they seem. And if anything spiritual ever comes up again, we handle it together through the proper channels: prayer, church, godly counsel, not through juju. But you know what's funny? Last week, while I was cleaning the wardrobe, I found a small red pouch I'd never seen before. My heart nearly stopped. I marched straight to David with it. David, what is this? He looked at it and laughed. Babe, relax. That's just the pouch from my new cufflinks. See? He showed me the empty cufflink box. I laughed too, but it was nervous laughter, because that's the thing about broken trust. It takes time to fully heal. Every little thing makes you suspicious until you rebuild that foundation slowly, brick by brick. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that like button, subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, and drop a comment so I know you're here. Share this video with that friend who needs to hear it. And if you have your own story about what you found in your partner's house that shocked you, please type it in the comment section. Let's learn from each other, Because sometimes sharing our stories is how we heal. It's how we help someone else avoid the same mistakes. My name is Choma, and this is my story. Until next time, stay woke, stay blessed, and make sure what's under your bed is only your slippers and maybe a little dust, nothing more. Remember, not every solution that works is the right solution. Sometimes the shortcut is actually the long way around. Trust God, trust the process, and trust that the truth will always set you free, even when it hurts. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.